Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing a wear test on the new Dior Face and Body Foundation, right? Yes, Dior Backstage Face and Body Foundation. I recently purchased this off Sephora. When it came out, I was really excited because the MAC Face and Body is like one of my favorite foundations. So when they released this, I knew I was going to have to try it out for you guys and for myself. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I have the shade 2W, which is a smidge too dark on me normally, but I was just at the beach for a week, so it's actually the perfect color for me right now. When I was color matching, it's pretty hard because there are so many shades. I'm going to bring it up on Sephora's website. There are so many shades of this foundation. I think there's like 40 or something like that, and they have them broken down into undertones. So warm, neutral, cool. And it was really difficult picking my shade. I know that my skin usually runs pretty warm or neutral, more on the warm side. Neutral is sometimes a little bit too pink on me. So I knew that I wanted to do a warm shade, but there were so many colors, so I really struggled. I'm really struggling right now finding it. Sephora's taking forever to load. Okay, so here it is on the website. And then if we scroll down, we'll see all of the shades that they have in this foundation. So I really struggled picking out a shade for myself, but I didn't do too bad. I think it works for me right now, so we're gonna go with it. But I'm just gonna read a little bit about this foundation from the Sephora website. So it's described as a medium coverage foundation for all skin types. It has a matte finish. There are 40 shades available. It's buildable coverage. It's waterproof and sweat resistant. Let's see. And it's supposed to create a flawless runaway ready complexion. Sounds wonderful. So normally for me, I like a more lightweight base just because I like my skin to be able to breathe through the makeup. When I wear a heavy base, it tends to clog up my skin and pores. My skin is very sensitive, so I have to be very careful about the things that I'm putting on it. So normally like a light to medium coverage foundation is what I like to go for. So I like that this is medium coverage. It is buildable. So we're gonna test out that claim, and yeah, we're gonna get down to it. So today what I'm gonna use to prime is my First Aid Beauty Coconut Skin Smoothie Priming Moisturizer. This is one of my favorite primers. I actually finished up a full size not too long ago, and now I've been using these little samples that I got in like subscription boxes, but I'm definitely going to be repurchasing the full size because it's so amazing. And I'm just going to slather it all over my face. This is the primer that I normally use on an everyday basis, so that's why I'm using it with this foundation. Since I know how this works, I'm just going to use it with this foundation. Alright, so I'm going to shake this up. You do get 1.6 fluid ounces in here, and I think it's $40. Usually a foundation is 1 ounce, and obviously the price varies, but this is almost 2 fluid ounces, so 1.6 fluid ounces, 50 milliliters. They do have a little shelf life on here of 12 months, which isn't bad. So that's about all the information on the actual bottle. So it does get all over the cap and tip of the bottle, but the MAC Face and Body does that as well, so I wasn't too concerned about it when I noticed that. So this is it squeezed out on my hand. It is a little bit of a liquidy consistency. As you can see, it's going to start running down my hand, but it's not super liquidy like the Glossier Skin Tint or anything like that. So how I like to apply these types of products is I actually like to use my fingers. So I'll kind of warm the product up in my hands first and then start rubbing it into the skin or patting it. And it has a very like floral fragrance to it. Most high-end foundations do tend to have a bit of fragrance to them, so if that is something that you do not like, you probably will not like this foundation. But I don't mind it. Usually my skin is a little sensitive to fragrance, but in foundations for some reason it's not. I don't know. In skincare products there can be no fragrance. In foundation products it just doesn't matter. So I'm just going to take a little bit more and apply it to my forehead. And then after I apply this with my fingers, what I'll do is I'll kind of like take my foundation brush and start like buffing it in a little bit better and kind of like pressing it into my skin. And then that's when we're going to try and layer some of it. So I'm just going to rub this first layer in pretty nicely. It blends in really nice with the skin. It doesn't look like you're wearing like a heavy layer of foundation. It looks pretty natural on the skin when you first apply it. So I'm going to zoom you guys in a little bit so you can see the first layer. So this is how it looks on the skin. It does have a little bit of a glow to it. It looks like skin, like it doesn't look like it's clinging in any places or anything like that. Ignore this. But I do like that it still has a little bit of a dewy glow. So far, so good. I am going to apply a little bit more on the back of my hand because we're going to try and build it up now with a foundation brush. Let's see how this goes. So a lot of times where I like to build up my foundation is on my cheeks. That's where I have redness and a little bit of stuff going on. So that's where I'm going to try to build it up the most. So I'm just going to blend this in a little bit more with my brush. This is normally what I would do when applying my foundation. And this is just the Sigma Flat Top Kabuki. And I'm just going to press this into the skin. Alright, so I'm going to take a little bit more on the back, that's on the back of my hand, and just kind of press it into the brush. And let's see. So it's definitely very buildable. As you can see right here, all my redness is gone. It's layering pretty nicely. It's not like clinging anywhere. It's also like looking really good over my pores. Like it's not settling into any of the pores that I have on my cheeks at all, which is a good thing. But it still has like that dewy kind of glow. But that could be the combination of the hydrating primer and the foundation. So it definitely covered up my redness really well. This is one cheek with 2 layers, and then this is a cheek with just 1 layer, as you can see. So my redness kind of peeks through right here. It's actually not as bad on this cheek. I have way more redness on this one. But the foundation looks really good. I actually really like it. Okay, so here is 2 layers on my entire face. It definitely covers up redness really well. I have a lot of redness around my nose and on my cheeks. And it's definitely covered that up. I do really like how it's sitting on the skin. It's not looking dry or patchy anywhere. It is getting a little stuck in the peach fuzz that I have right here on my face, and I think that's what's making it look a little dry, but it doesn't look like horrible. Like I actually don't mind how that looks. And on the rest of my face and my forehead, it looks really good. Like it's not creasing in my forehead at all. It doesn't look dry or cakey around my nose. So far, so good. So let's continue on. I want to see how products sit on top of it. So I'm going to be using a combination of my NARS NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer and my Glossier Stretch. This is my favorite concealer concoction. I do this every day, so I know how it usually performs. So we will see how it performs on top of this foundation. But so far the foundation's really nice. It gives a nice like finish to the skin, and it gives a bit of coverage, but it's not super overwhelming like a full coverage foundation would be. And I feel like my skin is still able to breathe. It doesn't feel heavy. It hardly feels like I'm wearing anything on my face, which is normally what I like from a foundation. So far so good. I'm actually really enjoying this. So I'm just going to take that same brush, the Sigma Kabuki, and blend this in. The concealer seems to be blending pretty nicely. I wasn't sure how the NARS one would look on top of, because that's pretty matte, so on top of a matte foundation sometimes it can be a little bit too much, for my skin at least. But on my chin it looks okay, so far so good. So with the concealer layered on top, it is looking a little bit dry in my nose creases, but again the foundation didn't look dry, so that could just be the concealer. In between my eyebrows, which always looks kind of dry, that's kind of like the driest place on my face, it looks pretty decent. It's clinging a little bit right here above my eyebrow, but other than that, it looks pretty good. Okay, so now that all of my concealer is blended in, I'm going to zoom you guys in even more so that you can see what it looks like on the skin. So here is my skin with the foundation. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty natural. Obviously not as natural as like a tinted moisturizer would, which is what I'm used to. But I'm actually not mad at how this is sitting on my skin. It looks really nice. It is a little bit more matte than I would normally go for, but I actually don't mind that This probably wouldn't be like an everyday foundation for me, but when I wanted a little bit more coverage or if I was like going out, I would definitely use this product. I really like it so far. It is looking a little bit dry around my nose, but that could have been the concealer. Sometimes that concealer is a little bit too matte for me. So I think the combination of the matte foundation and the matte concealer was a little bit drying around my nose. But everything looks drying around my nose, so honestly, I take that with a grain of salt. And there is still a little bit of like a sheen on the tops of my cheeks, which I like. I like to look glowy. It definitely is medium coverage. I mean, I only put 2 layers on. I'm sure you could keep building it, but I would probably stop at 2 layers because already I can tell if I were to use another layer, it would look really drying on my skin. But it is definitely medium coverage. There's still a little bit of like spots peeking through here and here. My cheeks are where I have the most redness, the most spots. But I'm not totally mad at that. I like that my freckles on my nose are peeking through. I like that it's not totally full coverage. That's what I prefer. But if you're someone who likes a full coverage foundation, this may not be for you, but I do like that it's medium coverage. So far so good. I do want to see how powders apply on top, so I'm going to zoom you guys back out and we'll do a little bit of that. Okay, so now I'm just going to powder my under eyes a little bit with the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. I'm just going to do this very quickly. My under eyes are actually the part of my face that gets the most oily in the summer, and stuff always runs under my eyes because of it. So I always like to powder my under eyes, but I feel like on the rest of my face I don't really need to powder. So we're gonna see how powder products like bronzer and stuff sit on top without powdering. I normally don't powder my entire face anyway, because I just don't really need to. So this is what I would do on an everyday basis. Alright, I will say it is starting to crease on my forehead a little bit. I've been having a lot of issues with this line across my forehead recently. It's been like creasing a lot with everything that I use, which is kind of scary. So that's just something to take into consideration. Alright, so I'm going to use the Becca Sunrise Waves bronzer, and I'm just going to apply this to my cheeks. The bronzer seems to be blending nicely. It's not looking patchy or anything. It's actually blending so nice. Wow. Look at that. I love this bronzer. It's like one of my new favorites, So here's the bronzer on my cheek. It's not patchy at all, and it's just a very soft wash of color, which I really like how that applied. That looks really beautiful. So you probably don't need to set this foundation if you have a more like normal skin type. If you're oily, you might have to set it depending on how oily your skin is. Alright, so far so good. I'm going to finish up the rest of my makeup and do some things around the house, and then I will probably check back in. It is 1 o'clock on the dot right now, so I'm going to try and check in twice tonight. I'm going to try and check in around like 6ish, so it'll have been 5 hours, and then I'll try and check in again at like 10 o'clock when I go to take my makeup off, and let you guys know how it wore throughout the day. So yeah, I'll see you guys then. Hey guys, welcome back. So it's 6 o'clock. It's been about 5 hours since I've been wearing this foundation, and it actually still looks really good on my skin. There's no fading. There is minimal creasing like on my forehead and stuff, but nothing too bad, and even in the camera like you can hardly tell. It's not settling into my lines or on my mouth, which foundation normally does, and it doesn't look too dry around my nose either. I feel like as I've been wearing it throughout the day, it's actually settling onto my skin a lot nicer than it originally did, and it looks a lot more dewy and fresh than dry. Normally foundation gets really dry throughout the day on my skin, but so far so good with this one. I'm going to check back in around 10 o'clock when I'm taking my makeup off, and we'll see how it looks then. Hey guys, so it's 9:30ish, and I just wanted to do my last check-in before I take my makeup off because I'm about to jump in bed and watch Netflix. The foundation still actually looks pretty good. It did wear off around my nose a bit, but every foundation does that, so I'm not really mad about that. On the rest of my face though, it's sitting really nicely. I think it melted into my skin even better as I wore it throughout the day, and I actually liked how it wore better later in the day than when I first put it on. Not that I didn't like it when I first put it on, but it definitely looks a lot more natural now. And yeah, the only place it really wore off was around my nose, and it just creased a little bit right here and a little bit on my forehead, but honestly on my forehead you can't even tell in the camera, and You can see it a little bit around my smile lines, but other than that, it wore really nicely. I really like the color. It was really nice. I think I'm gonna keep using it. It's definitely gonna become one of my staples. I really, really liked how it wore throughout the day. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was somewhat helpful if you're thinking about buying the Dior Face and Body Foundation. And I will see you guys in our next video.